Hello, everyone. My name is Christian. Welcome to my hobby blog. I am actually very happy and excited today. I watched the next movie in the Vinegar Syndrome August 2022 package. And this is the film directed by Alan Smithy, technically, but we know it is Rick Rosenthal. And this is the film The Birds 2, Land's End. I actually really enjoyed this release. But first, uh, I think people are being a little harsh on this movie. A lot of people were very, I guess, mean about Vinegar Syndrome doing this, saying that it is such a waste of time, saying how disappointing this is, how they were putting money into this movie. And honestly, it's not bad. Even for me, I am not a fan of the original one, mostly because of the treatment of Tippi Hedren, which I think is a valid reason to not like it. I can see why people enjoy it. I think it's, outside of the effects, I think it's a great suspenseful film. I just don't like how she's treated. And in this movie, she's in it also as a store owner that's not really the same character at all from how she was in the original. And she just looks so happy to be there. There were a lot of great stories throughout the new documentary that was made for this release, but I thought this was just an okay movie. I was not really hating it. I wasn't bored, which was the biggest shocker for me because a lot of people say that this is a movie that is not even worthy of watching. If you go on Letterboxd, it's pretty low. It's quite low. It's as low as some really awful Italian ripoff films like Jungle Holocaust. It's like that low of the ratings. And I mention that because I will be mentioning it again later in a particular context. But this movie is not bad at all. I thought the performances were good. All the effects were very competent. The TV film format, which this is a TV film, it was made for Showtime. They the cinematography was very good, very competent. It was moving. They didn't just set a camera in the corner of the room and press shoot and barely move it. They were actually trying to make a good movie. And the issue is that it was a Hitchcock movie that they were remaking. They weren't doing a sequel. They just called it fuck. There's been a fly flying around. But they were just trying to make a homage, basically. Rick Rosenthal was. And he had done Halloween 2 already by this point in the 90s. Well, not Halloween 2 in the 90s, but by the time that they filmed The Birds 2 in the 90s, he had already done Halloween 2, which I think is a worthy sequel. It doesn't make sense, half of the sort of story decisions, but everything in the hospital is great. I don't have much else to say. It wasn't. I'm trying to think anything else. I love the locations. They are down the road from me. I am in Greensboro, North Carolina, as people may know from watching the Will interviews with me and him, where we talk about where we have worked and talking about film classes and such, with Hellraiser 3 being filmed in Greensboro and talking about the schools that, at least school I went to and that he works at. But this movie was filmed in Wilmington, which is east for about 3 hours, I think, at Carolina Beach, Wilmington. Or I guess both of those locations. But shockingly, there were a lot of places I recognized. And I was just giddy the entire movie. Every time I was like, I know that place. And it was very exciting for me. I haven't had really any of that in movies. Maybe in Washington, D.C. has really been the only movie. Well, actually, Bull Durham, that movie, by whatever person, with Tim Robbins and Kevin Costner. Bull Durham. That is filmed in Durham, North Carolina. And there were a lot of locations that I recognized from growing up in Durham. So, very cool kind of having that feeling again for this film. But the story is very just fine. I think that's the weakest part, and it's expectedly the most underwhelming part, I think, only because Rick Rosenthal wanted to make a homage and did not want to make a gory edition or version of the birds. And it was later that the production or the producers went in and recut the film, and they added in the intro scene, which is a fisherman getting killed by seagulls and other birds of that likeness. And then the movie starts. And there's a few other shots throughout the film, mostly animal attack scenes that they did not film, but that the producers did. And they threw it in there, and it got so separated from what Rick Rosenthal was doing that he took his name off and said, "This isn't even my movie anymore. This is not what I wanted. This is not mine." And I'm getting a lot into the special features here, but there's really not much to discuss about the movie itself. If you've seen the original, it's exactly what you think this one will be, and I think it's a good time. I think if you follow the advice of Jalal Merhi, which, if you haven't seen the latest Withering Watchpower episode, the Battle of the Box Sets that me and Cult Flicks Fix did, I tackled the Tiger Claws trilogy, and I discussed each movie, talked about the special features, all that. And one part that was really, 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 really funny to me is that Jalal Merhi, who is the main producer and sort of the big name on this series of films, also starring Cynthia Rothrock, during his interview on that, he talked about the third movie specifically and said, like, hey, if you find this on TV and you haven't seen the other ones, you've never even heard of the series, and you don't know anything about Cynthia Rothrock, and he just gave this long list of, like, conditions to have. And at the end of it, he said, if you watch the movie under all of those circumstances, then I think you will like it. And this movie, I think you have to go into the same mindset of going, yes, like, you can't remake a Hitchcock movie, which one of the special features, the new documentary that was filmed this year, at the beginning of this year, I guess, once the beach started opening and they were able to get to the locations, the title of the documentary is Don't Remake Hitchcock Movies. And it starts right off the bat with the special effects person talking about, he gets asked a question after you press play, and he says, or he's asked, what's the big takeaway that you had when you were a part of this project? And he was just like, well, don't we make a Hitchcock movie? And he just kind of shrugged, and then the credits came up, and then they got into the documentary. And I think this movie just needs to be somehow separated from the original. I think it's a very competent movie. Again, if you haven't seen the original, if you don't know anything about the original, anything like that, and you just happen to watch this movie, you may actually really enjoy this. But I think everybody has seen the original one, so it's really hard to like this movie. But what was cool is that they interviewed just a select few people. They did the special effects guy who had actually worked on Lord of the Rings at one point. They interviewed the production assistant. They interviewed one of the actresses. They interviewed another special effects person who did kind of the main, I guess, heavy lifting of the special effects. The one that they asked in the beginning about the main takeaway, he did the animatronics for the film. And that everything he talked about was really interesting and always very humorous to listen to him kind of try to, I guess, not lie, but really try to not be negative about what he was viewing about the movie. But The guy who did the main special effects is a big deal. His name is Jeff Goodwin, who I think I recognize that name quite a bit, but it was while he was talking that I realized I know him. He has done the special effects, or helped on the special effects on The Thing. He has done many other movies. There was a lot of info I was writing down for this episode, so I wasn't able to get all the movies down, but he did a shit ton of John Carpenter movies in the 80s. He did a lot of George Romero, I believe, at least for I can't remember specifically, but if you look him up, Jeff Goodwin, he is involved on a lot of good projects. And the movie first started to kind of coalesce into an actual movie when Dino De Laurentiis, if you don't know that name, he's a very famous producer. He really helped David Lynch get into kind of, not the mainstream, but really get the exposure that he deserved. Dino De Laurentiis gave David Lynch 100% control after the big failure that was Dune. I think Dune is fine. I love the first half. The second half, David Lynch hasn't read the novel Dune, so he kind of had to rush it and just got what he could from other people about how it's supposed to end, and he just wrapped it up, just finished it as fast as he could, because by then it was a total nightmare for him. He says it's one of the most depressing phases of his life, but after that he did Blue Velvet with Kyle MacLachlan and Laura Dern, Isabella Rossellini, everybody basically ever that's worked on a David Lynch movie, they're in this. Dennis Hopper, have to mention him. And Dino De Laurentiis was very understanding to David Lynch and gave him full control. And David Lynch has a lot of really great stories about it, about Blue Velvet. I recommend going through the essays and interviews on the Blue Velvet release from Criterion, which I have somewhere around here, not within reach, so I can't grab it. But he had a studio, to circle back around to this movie. He had a studio in Wilmington, North Carolina. And it was around the time that they were filming the movie The Crow, which, if you don't know, is very famous because Brandon Lee, the son of Bruce Lee, got shot on set with a blank, I believe, that was supposed to be blank, but someone did not, whatever it's called, they didn't de-blank it, I guess. There's a great episode all about it on the Cursed Films documentary that Shudder has done. Go watch that episode for more details. I haven't seen the movie. I don't want to. I don't want to kind of see the death of him, although I know they do not use that footage, but still. It was around that time that he died that they stopped production, and they were scrambling to finish the movie with whatever they had. And the producers wanted a new, I guess, remake of a famous Hitchcock film. And it was around this time, I believe, that Psycho was made. The very famously bad Psycho remake with Wedding Crasher guy. I always forget his name. He's who Anthony Perkins is. And he is not cast right in that movie. I've only seen clips because I don't want to watch the movie. But it's real bad. And it was around that time that they were able to lease the studio and be able to use it for all the indoor shots and also all the soundstage shots. And one of the special effects people talked about how they showed them where Brandon got shot. And he said it was very chilling because he could still see all of the production images and sort of the layouts for the sets and a lot of logistical stuff that the production office was using to make the movie. and he said it was the most chilling experience he's had, and I don't blame him. I would not want to be anywhere near there. But one thing that kind of distracted me the entire time, just a quick note, is that Jeff Goodwin had a massive movie collection surrounding him. It was just like stacks of movies just all around him, like I have here. But imagine it was all, you know, horizontal, I guess, laying on the sides. Uh, I was gonna grab a stack that's right behind here, but it would be as if like a bunch of movies were sitting like this, and it was very funny because I kept getting distracted, pausing the documentary and trying to look at every title that they had that Jeff Goodwin had, and two that I could see, which I meant to grab them off the shelf. But one is Kaoma, which is a Arrow video release. I could see the Arrow spine, so that's how I noticed it originally. And the other movie was Zombie Holocaust, which I mentioned earlier, but this is the reference. That kind of blew me away that he would even own that movie, because I think it's one of the most boring Italian remakes that I've seen. It's really bad. I don't like Jungle Holocaust, but it's a video nasty, so there is a bit of historical significance to that movie. I don't like it, though. But that was a lot of fun to kind of witness, is his giant stack. And he had all his awards behind him hanging on the wall, all the special effects awards he's gotten. And it was just really interesting. But he talks about, around this time, about the production office that the production assistant talks about, which is another subject that they interviewed. Jeff Goodwin said that he and Rick Rosenthal did not want to have a bloody movie. They did not want to do like a Blob remake, which he didn't mention, but that was kind of what popped up in my head. Another 1950s movie, another remake where it just really amped up and improved upon all of the weak aspects, in my opinion, of the original. He said he did not want to do that. He wanted to, or at least Rick Rosenthal, wanted to do a homage and wanted to keep that suspense, that atmosphere, the slower-ish pace. Not like a slasher where every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, I think, when the Friday the 13th producers said in a commentary track, is that every 15 minutes you have to have Jason kill someone. And that's what this movie became once the producers got involved, because it starts right off the bat with a killing of a fisherman. And then the actual movie starts that Rick Rosenthal began. And then about 15, 20 minutes later, another kill happens. And then it just keeps happening every 15 minutes. And one thing I was a little upset by is that they had a dog in this movie, a golden retriever, that the two little daughters were playing with. And, it was a really nice pupper and doggo. And he was just living his best life on the beach, chasing after seagulls. And they had to kill the damn dog. Had a pretty grotesque scene. I have a feeling that the producers filmed it. I have no idea. They didn't really talk about that dog death scene, but for those who are squeamish, who don't like seeing animals die on screen, don't watch that scene. Just fast forward it. It's a lot more gruesome than I thought it'd be, on second thought. But they also interviewed one of the actresses who played one of the young daughters, who she said she was 9 or 10 years old when they filmed it, but she looked like she was 6 years old because she's so tiny. She's the same age as her older sister, but she's like a whole foot shorter than her. And so it was very bizarre when she was talking about that, and she was like, yeah, I mean, all the two daughters were supposed to be like 10 and 13, I think she said. And they said that they just kind of settled with 11 years old and 9 years old. Well, I guess they were the same age, so both 9. But one was, of course, much smaller. But anyways, she says that this movie was one of the most fun experiences ever, because there were a lot of explosions. The crows were very cool to work with. She says it was really cool. I guess exciting to sort of witness the movie magic of how they shot the animal attack scenes, because they have a few scenes where it looks like there are animals attacking her, or I guess birds attacking her. And she was talking about how they're actually like 20 feet in the air, and they use optical, I guess, trickery to make it look like they are flying at her. And she said she wanted to, one of the days that they were filming, she went with her personal tutor who was supposed to keep, I guess, her on pace with school. Her tutor brought her to Bald's Head Island, which I've been to a bunch of times. I don't know how many field trips, I guess, North Carolina kids have to take to go to Bald Head's Island. But she went out there, and the only way to get there is through ferry. Everybody ever reminds everyone of that. Every time Bald's Head Island is mentioned, oh, you can't drive there. You only ferry. And she saw a church there, and she talked about how she walked in. She was like, "Wow, I really hope I get married here someday." And everyone's like, "Oh, haha, like that's so cute," whatever. And then she's a resident of North Carolina, so 20, 30 years later, she actually got married at that church, which I thought was a really sweet story. Pretty fun, but she talked about how the first time she saw this movie, she had a bunch of her friends over from school, and her parents and her had gone to Blockbuster to rent the VHS. And that was actually the only release that this movie ever had until this Vinegar Syndrome release, was the Blu-ray. Never before on disc, only on VHS. So I guess it was very lucky of her that she was able to have a watch party. But she says that everyone was like either scared or they thought it was hilarious. And she was one of the ones who thought it was hilarious because all she could see were the animatronics and all the CGI blue screen birds. Hiccups. And she said that every time one of her friends would get scared, she's like, "Oh, that's just like a puppet. Oh yeah, that one is, there's a guy off screen holding a little like fake bird with a kind of a gripper, going back and forth, and every time he pulled the thing, the beak would go, open and close." And she would always try and, I guess, throw that movie magic around in order for her friends not to get scared watching it. But there's some pretty funny stories about the director and the production company and the props department. Apparently, they all hated each other. They all wanted nothing to do with each other. The director apparently had a t-shirt made for everybody. Well, he had 2 t-shirts made. The first one was just for him. And that one had, because everyone on the set had little, the birds too, across the left shoulder, sort of. The production assistant was wearing it on the documentary. So if you want to see exactly what it looks like, that's what it is. And he had one made for himself that said, "The birds too, fuck you." Because he just hated it. And he only wore that t-shirt whenever the producers and the prop department were nearby. And he just hated them. He wanted nothing to do with them. They kept telling him what to do with this movie, so that's another reason I think this movie does not do as well. I wish there was a director's cut of this. But he had another t-shirt made that had, gosh, I thought I wrote it down, but I guess it was that one, "Birds to fuck you," printed for everybody. But I swear it was a different lettering for the entire crew that they had. But I guess if you watch the documentary, you can find out for sure. But the production assistant, and the actress had a lot of really great stories throughout. the documentary all about Rick Rosenthal, talking about how nice he was, how lovely he was. The actress would talk about how he was never a director who brought people in all together and was like, okay, you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that. He would take each actor and actress aside and be like, okay, here's what you're gonna do, here's what you're gonna be thinking, here's what just happened, so that we can, have continuity. But she said how there was one part where she was supposed to be screaming like mad in the I guess the yard when she's looking for her dog, and this is the scene that the dog dies, and she's supposed to be screaming at the top of her lungs, and she just could not do it. And so Rick Rosenthal sat her aside, and everyone's getting ready for the next shot, whatever, and he was like, you gotta go really loud like this, and he would scream very loudly, and she was like, now you do it, and she would scream loud, and he's like, not good enough, now like this, and they would go back and forth, kind of trying to out-scream each other. And she said that was one of the funniest experiences she ever had, because it was just like this, I guess, adult man just screaming on the top of his lungs, and then just going right back into director's mode and being this, very serious and, also bubbly to the people he liked, because he was very nice to everybody except for the props department and the producers. But one thing of note that I didn't really do any follow-up research on, because I didn't do it. The director of photography is Bruce Surtees, who I did not recognize that name at all, but they pointed this out. He was the cinematographer, I believe, on Dirty Harry, the Clint Eastwood movie, which I haven't seen in a very long time. I think last time I saw it, I was like 8 or 9. I think Dad made me watch it, and I need to rewatch it so I can actually appreciate it. But Tippi Hedren is also in this movie. She plays a store owner, and the actress was talking about how she was like the grandmother on set, where Tippi Hedren was constantly checking on the children, making sure that they were well fed, that they had sweets, and like all this stuff. And they would spend days together going to Wilmington and going on the ferry and going to the beach, all that. And the special effects guy was saying how Tippi Hedren looked like she was not really happy being there, and thought that she was just there for the paycheck, which it ended up that she was paid a shit ton for this movie. They didn't say exactly what, but they just said that she was very happy. I guess after the movie was done, she was just there for the paycheck. And the father character, he is played by some guy that they got the week they were beginning filming. And so he didn't really have any time to practice his lines. But the part that I really kind of liked and made me kind of appreciate the actor more is that he has a really great chemistry on camera with everybody. And he was not a practice actor, apparently. He got hired on and was a lot more interested in playing golf. So I completely understand how he is and why he would do that, because I find any excuse that I can to play golf too. Especially when I'm at work and it's like, okay, we got an hour, for lunch. Let's go to the golf course. And so we play golf. And finding out that he loved the Wilmington golf courses, I was like, oh, it's like, I love them too. So it was a lot of fun to kind of, I guess, connect in that way. It's a little weird, but yeah, that's all on the documentary called Do Not Remake Hitchcock. Lovely documentary. I like this release more than The Incredible Melting Man by quite a bit. I also watched the locations of The Birds too, Land's End, which is basically the production assistant who still works down in the studio that Dino De Laurentiis had made. And he just walked around Wilmington, basically downtown Wilmington, which holy shit, so many places that I recognize and have gone to. He went to Carolina Beach, which I go. That's really the only beach I go to in North Carolina, and someone's getting arrested, I guess. But there were a lot of really cool sets that he went to, and a lot of them look very similar to how they were when they were filming it. And so I would love to kind of go down there again, because it's been a few years, maybe about 4 years. Well, 2 years, because the last time I was there at Carolina Beach was the week of spring break in 2020, March, I think second week of March. And I'm sure everybody knows already before I say it, that was the week that COVID started to become a big fucking deal. The cases were skyrocketing every day. It was like Monday, you were hearing COVID, COVID, COVID. And it was kind of like oh, we can, it's concerning, sure, but it will never, it was kind of that stage of COVID. And that was the last time I'd been. And so the entire beach trip, I was thinking about that. And I was working on my thesis at the time when I was doing that in grad school. I ended up dropping it and instead doing an internship track. But, yeah, I need to visit Carolina Beach under better circumstances, I think. Because it wasn't really a vacation for me. I was working on my thesis for most of it. And only at night did I separate from the work. But, okay. That is really it for this review. I guess I need to answer my question. Would I have bought this if I did not have the subscription? Probably not. I probably would have just listened to everybody about the criticisms about this movie. And I'm very happy. This is what I talk about in terms of the, I guess, the golden nuggets in Vinegar Syndrome's lineup. Because there's a lot of movies they do that I don't like at all. I think some of them don't even have special features. So you just have the movie. And if you don't even like the movie, there's no reason to own it, in my opinion. And I've been trading a lot of my slip-covered Vinegar Syndrome movies after going through all the special features and doing all that, because I'm never going to watch them again. And this is one where I don't know if I'll watch it again, but I am keeping the locations kind of documentary on hand. That way I can, I guess, write down all the locations. And they say where these places are. So I need to go visit them again. Maybe I'll do a video for that once I get my camera. Don't tell anyone. So this is The Birds 2, Land's End. I'm so happy that I have this, actually. This is a release that nobody really likes. And this is one that I am very happy that Vinegar Syndrome did. This definitely did need to be archived and kept and preserved in the film lexicon, I guess. A lot of people need to give this a chance, at least, especially the documentary. Because the documentary, I think, is an hour long. It's quite a bit, but 54 minutes. So it's like a TV show episode length. And watching that directly after the movie was so nice, because I liked the movie. I mean, it wasn't bad. Definitely not as bad as what people say that it is, but yeah, what a lovely, lovely release. Good job, Vinegar Syndrome. I'm very happy that you did this, and I'm not going to apologize for those who are kind of shocked or mad that I actually really enjoyed this. The movie's okay, but boy, that documentary made me really appreciate it, and that's why I collect, so I can appreciate films and all that. I don't want to get all preachy right now, so I'll just end it here. Thank you all so much for watching, and please comment what you think about this movie. I want to know more, but I'm sure nobody is going to have any controversial takes like I did. But have a great rest of the day. Thank you all so much.